More cordless M12 fuel ratchets from Milwaukee, but this time with more reach. I'm Tim Johnson and you're watching Shop Tool Reviews. These are the brand new Milwaukee M12 fuel extended reach ratchets, specifically the model 2559 and the 2560. Now it comes in a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch drive. There is no 1/2 inch drive like the standard reach ratchets have. Now, if you've been around our social media at all, or even our web pages and videos, you'll know that the M12 fuel ratchets have been a staple of ours for quite a long time. Even before they had the fuel series, we loved the M12 ratchets just because they're very handy. You find jobs all the time that you can do with them. So anywhere you're having to take a ratchet and ratchet back and forth, or you're having to take a ratchet wrench or a wrench, and you can fit this in there, all of a sudden now you don't have to move that back and forth. You pull the trigger and it moves that fastener for you. It takes it off, runs it on, whatever you need it to do. So some of the limitations of that were just pure size, as you can see here. So enter the extended reach ratchet. Now, the nice thing about this is you get that length, that more reach, which is about 3 inches difference on both of these. So the 3/8 drive, you're going to have about a 3-inch difference, and the 1/4 inch, you're going to have about a 3/8 difference. It does run on their M12 platform or their 12-volt platform. I like to run it with the small 2 amp hour batteries. You can also get the extended 4.0 batteries, but it has the flat top on it, which it'll stand up easier, but again, it kind of gives it a broader base and more things to catch on or to hit on or what have you. So I like that slim profile. I can change out batteries as I need to, and they'll probably still last you a full day when you're using these ratchets, even with that small 2.0 amp hour M12 battery. Now, some of the really nice things about this is pure, being able to pull the trigger and it just run these fasteners off. You basically get the same power platform as the standard reach ratchets in the extended length ratchet. So the body all the way up to the heads of the regular reach, basically the same wrench. Purely all you're doing is extending the heads on it, and the heads are the same size. Now that's a great place to take notice here between the 1/4 inch and the 3/8. And one thing that I've kind of in my head decided on is when to go for the 3/8, when to go through the 1/4 inch. And you can see here that the 1/4 inch drive has a lot smaller head. Now, the great thing about that is it's going to fit in a lot of tighter areas, if you will, a lot easier to get in those small places. So in my head, I've just kind of created a dividing line that says, anything 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch and smaller, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drive. So my 10 millimeters and my 7/16 and my 1/2 inch and things like that, 8 millimeter, I'm going to use the 1/4 inch drive ratchet. Smaller head, easier to fit in those places. And then the larger ones that need a little more torque or a little more fastening strength, then I'm going to say 14 millimeter or 9/16 and larger, I'm going to reach for my 3/8. So that's just kind of, my idea when I'm going to my toolbox, what am I working on, and kind of know what size fasteners they are. And that's going to determine whether or not I'm grabbing both of these or one of these or what have you. So my go-to is the 1/4 inch, especially interior work, under the hood, things like that. Unless I'm getting deep into an engine or working on suspension parts, probably going to grab this 1/4 inch. If I'm working on brakes, things like that, I may be going for the 3/8 drive. Now, let's talk about power in these, and really and truly, I could really almost care less. I shouldn't say care less, but the power is not a big deal to me. Let me explain to you why. First, let me tell you, the 1/4 inch drive I think is 40 or 45 foot-pounds, and the 3/8 drive is 55 foot-pounds. And the 1/2 inch in the smaller M12 I think even went up to 60 foot-pounds. But regardless, so let's call it 40 and 55 foot-pounds. Number one, these aren't impact wrenches. So even though you hear the ratcheting mechanism, the clicking, that's not an impact. It's literally just the ratcheting mechanism like you would hear on your regular ratchet. So these aren't impact wrenches, and I'm not looking for them to be an impact wrench or a torque wrench. I'm looking at it to be a nut runner, a bolt runner. In other words, to run those threads in to where I can get them tight and either tighten them or loosen them and back them all the way out. So that's what I'm looking for in this. And then if it needs some extra oomph, well, I'm just going to grab the handle and just like I would my regular ratchet and tighten it up a little bit more. So whether it's got 20 foot-pounds of force or 50 or 60 foot-pounds of force, that's not a big deal to me. I'm not buying these because it's got 100 foot-pounds of torque, or in this case, 55. I'm buying them because I want them to run those fasteners on and off for me, so I'm not having to wiggle that wrench back and forth. Case in point, somebody called me the other night, said, hey Tim, my wife's got a GMC Envoy, 4.2 liter. The starter is going out and it's dragging bad. And I said, yeah, it needs a starter. So bring it over. So he brought it over to the shop and we commenced to working on it. Well, the only way to get to that, in fact, you can watch most videos and they say to take the driver's side front wheel off and go through the opening in the wheel well. It's about this big, so a little small window to fit through and kind of reach your arm through there and do that. Well, with the extended reach ratchet, and you probably can't see, most of this is probably going to be elbows and forearms, but you can see here, I was able to get to those from the top. So I was able to take the 8mm and the 13mm nuts off on the wires on the solenoid, and then the two 15mm bolts, I could also get down there from the top, take all those bolts off, and be able to pull that starter out from the top. I didn't have to work through that little bitty window in the wheel well there. So that's just a great point of where these things fit really, really well. And the standard reach would have never fit down there. In fact, I think I may have gotten a shot with it in there, and it's just such a kind of a clumsy way to reach down in there. It almost didn't make sense. But with the extended reach, it worked really well. I can also see this, in rear spark plugs on V8s and kind of tucked away back in those compartments. In fact, that's what I used it on the other day on a V6 on an Explorer. So being able to reach those areas that are further away, quite frankly, and you'll run into those quite often, actually. So let's talk about what do you choose. So let's say that you got to make a determination whether I'm going to get a standard reach M12 fuel, ratchet, or I'm going to get a extended reach. That's a tough one. Again, these are something we use all the time. As you can see here on the staining of the red here, I clean my tools up every time we use them, but it just gets used a lot. The 1/4 inch and the 3/8, they just get used a ton. So you can see here by the grease stains on the tools, even though they're cleaned up. So I use them all the time. Now with the extended reach, I do see myself starting to grab the extended reach ones all the time. So I think it may be a little early for me to tell whether I like the longer ones or the shorter ones as far as for the majority of the work. I would say that having the long one's going to allow you to do, more jobs probably. At the same time, this is a lot more balanced tool. So with this in your hand, it feels like it's kind of a part of your hand. There's no end weight or anything like that. With these extended reach, once you do get some weight out here on the end, especially when you step up to the 3/8 drive, so there's quite a bit of weight that you feel like you're kind of teetering out there or leveraging out there. So this is a more balanced tool, the shorter one. But again, it's not like you're going to get fatigued on something like this. So if you can afford it, I would say you should probably get both. We use both still in the shop, even though we have the long reach ones, we still use both of them. So if you can afford it, get both. If you can't, again, I would probably lean to the extended reach, but time will tell. I may change my mind on that, but time will tell with that. Now, as far as the kit price on the 1/4 inch, it's $339 for 2 batteries and the charger and the extended reach ratchet. For the 3/8 drive, it's $10 cheaper. It's $10 cheaper. It's $329 for the kit with the 2 batteries and the charger and the extended reach ratchet. And then as far as the bare bones, I think it's $239 and $220, or $239 for the 1/4 inch and $229 for the 3/8 drive. So, it's a little confusing because the smaller one is $10 more. I think because just popularity is probably going to be more sold of the 3/8 drive than the 1/4 inch, even though that would be something I recommend. I would lean towards the 1/4 inch because it has a smaller head. If you can only buy one, I'd definitely buy a 1/4 inch drive unless you do a lot of big stuff. But interior work and small stuff around the top of engines and even things like starters, alternators, things like that, I would go with the 1/4 inch. I think it's going to hold up fine, and it's going to be fine for your fasteners. Say 13mm and smaller, even going up into that 15mm range is not going to be a big deal on that 1/4 inch anvil. You just don't want to stress that too much. So a couple of the features on here: typical ratchet head. So obviously you can just turn it as far as what direction you want it to go. Paddle switches right here, which is more of really like a plunger with a paddle on top of it. And then you've got a lockout switch as well. You can turn that, put that on, and then so if it's in your toolbox, it's not going to turn your light on, or the ratchet's not going to engage or something like that while it's in your toolbox. And then you do have a light right here. I will say it's almost useless on the extended reach versus the one on the standard reach. So the standard reach, it's going to shine right there on the fastener, even though it's not that bright. On the extended reach, it's really almost a waste. It's not casting hardly any light at that point on the fastener that'll be down here. So maybe in a real dark area would it help you out? Maybe so. Love to see that light moved up. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but anyway, again, that's not one of the main points of this. Everything else is pretty much the same. I have heard some negativity, and I think it was just somebody looking for some, but there's no guard here on the fans on these, where basically you can see there's a fan of the motor here, and that's where it exhausts a lot of the heat. And they talk about, well, there's a potential that could get damaged. I've ran these to death, and well, not to death yet, but anyway, have not had any problems with any of these clogging up or getting stuff in them or breaking anything. So same thing here. I don't see a problem with that. As far as the build of it, feels solid. It really does. The metal, it seems like it's not giving at all. Even the plastic handle, if you bear down on it pretty good, you'll feel a little bit of flex, but for the most part, I'm pushing these pretty hard, and I've had these for a long time, and have not broken one, have not even had any issues with it whatsoever. They're the Milwaukee M12 FUEL extended reach ratchets, model number 2559 and model number 2560. They are available now, so you can get them at stores and online. You can also check them out at milwaukeetool.com. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you don't mind, smash that like and subscribe button and hit that bell notification if you want to be notified of future videos. Have a great day, and God bless.